What's coming in? How do people find you?
So I've got a Facebook page. I do have a website URL, but um, even though I've paid for it for the past 3 years, I don't have anything on it. It redirects to my Facebook page for now. But people just they have tortoises or turtles that they can't keep, and they reach out. Just past week, I actually got two that a family had raised from hatchlings, and they did a pretty good job. Very little pyramiding, and they bought them from Tortoise Supply Company. So Tyler
Oh wow.
had sold them to him, and
Uh
they
huh.
raised them up at. They were expecting two females, and one was a male. And as happens, we can't
Yeah.
guarantee sexes as hatchlings.
Totally.
The male was just too aggressive for him and freaking out the
Mm.
little kids, so they took him here, and then three more Russians this week. So I finally, for this year, I finally started saying no to a lot of sliders and stuff like that. Anthony
Ah.
Piercione is a good friend of mine, and he's told me for years that I need to be able to tell people no. And it's not the hardest, it's not the easiest thing in the world when there's a pretty good chance that these people are either going to release it or, you know, it's going to end up in a worse situation than it's already in. So, but
I mean, this is a horrible question to ask or even think about. Is euthanasia a consideration anywhere amongst turtle rescues? Is
all right,
anybody talking about? I mean, that's
let's,
not what we
you know
planned
what?
on talking about,
let's
but
let's let's get deep. We're getting deep. So this is a hot topic among rescues and keepers alike, and scientists. My state herpetologist, he euthanizes. They're not native in northern Indiana. They don't belong here. You ask anyone that's been into turtles for a long time, we're seeing less painted turtles. Um, we're seeing less map turtles, and all we're seeing is reddish sliders. So although it's not something that I want to jump into headstrong.
yeah. Oh,
Definitely,
that sounds great.
yeah, like let's do it. It's not something
Ugh.
to jump into headlong, but it is something that we have to talk about. It is something that is uncomfortable and that we don't necessarily want to deal with. But the
Yeah.
fact of the matter is, we do have to deal with it, and
Mm.
we need to deal with it before it becomes a even bigger problem than it is. Sorry, a little tangent there. So,
I know this month is clear the shelters month. Is that
okay.
something you participate in or have heard about?
No, uh, I actually changed. I don't do that. You know, I don't get myself in a position where I'm stretched too thin to where I'm, bursting at seams, and I can't take care of things. So I won't rush things out. I don't mind keeping stuff here forever. If I don't have the ability to keep it here forever, I won't take it in, which is
Got
why I've started turning sliders and stuff away. But
got
like
it.
with box turtles and tortoises, um, I have enough space and I have enough accommodations that I can take care of them.
Mhm.
You know, I will say that my situation is probably a little bit different than most others out there, given the fact that I don't even have to buy produce for mine. Um, Between what I already had known and had done for years, and then what you and Ryan have taught me over the last year, I've really
Mm.
the willow trees really helping out, to be honest. 'Cause
Oh, interesting.
they hang right down right
Yeah.
in my enclosure, so I just walk in, strip out a bunch of leaves, and it's too simple. And honestly, they're healthy, as healthy as they've ever been. I'm doing a
Interesting.
really bad job of finding nests, but they're all really
Uh,
healthy.
so how do you have some animals that are rescues and some animals are your prized possessions? I mean, how do you split that up? Or is it really everything is a turtle and or a tortoise and that's a part of what you're doing there?
I would love to say that all of them are the same to me, and because they're all living creatures, I love them all the same. But
Yeah,
again, I have favorites. I have ones that
sure.
I like more. I have ones that I don't necessarily care a ton about. They all get fed, they all get taken care of, they all get um, provided for. But I will definitely find myself spending more time around certain um, either individual turtles or groups because I really enjoy them. My three toads are probably one of my absolute favorite. They're really, I mean, they're just active. They're personable. They always come up and ask for food. I mean, they talk to me. They say, Matthew, can I have some food?
Yeah,
But they always come up. They're very,
feed me.
what they want. They don't hide things. Yeah, feed me. Um,
They hold up signs.
yeah. But there are certain ones that probably get the minimum to have them thriving in life. I do as much as I can for enrichment and stuff like that, but there are limits to what you can and can't do. Just with the amount of time you have and the amount of turtles that get surrendered. So
For sure. How I'm gonna try to highlight Podrick's message. For some reason the chat is not showing up. It's not working. Apologies for that. But Podrick says he thought about hard becoming a rescue, but knowing how much I'm spending to feed my 14 animals now, tortoises, gives me great pause. Plus not at my age up to building more enclosures in the yard. And he's down in Alabama, so
yeah. So
he can keep some things
I just
outside.
sent a male Russian and a male Herman's
Oh yeah?
last week, Patrick. So yeah, I'm
Cool.
excited about that. And he was able to, I believe, get another. I cannot remember. Patrick, was it another Herman's that you got or another Russian? I can't remember. But yeah, I was excited about that. I've sent several tours out. But so I was going to get back to something I'd forgotten. So
Yeah, yeah.
my new policy with my rescue, I do not charge to adopt any animals. Um, I do that mainly because I understand how expensive it can be to get them set up correctly, and I would rather them spend the money on a good setup than the turtle itself or the tortoise itself. But my new rule is if you want to adopt a turtle or a tortoise from Hoosier Turtle and Tortoises, you need to be a TTPG member
Oh.
so that I can donate them through the CPP. They'll still be free of charge. You pay that
Ah.
membership fee, and if you want to do a lifetime membership, in the long run, I think you'll save money. I enjoy being a lifetime member, but it's a way of not necessarily me having to charge money, but a way that I can gauge their seriousness. If they're going
Yeah.
to get involved, and I see them, especially if I see them on Facebook and they're commenting, in the group discussions and stuff like that.
Hmm.
That's that's the goal. I mean, I think we all want to bring more people into the herpetocultural. Wait, was it ethical herpetoculture?
Yeah.
What was it? Okay? That was
Or conscientious.
conscientious. Yes, conscientious
Yes.
herpetocultures.
That was my
Uh,
idea a few months ago.
yeah. So if we want to bring them
Spring.
in, we I think there's a lot of good ways we could do that. I don't, for me at least, selling stuff isn't how I find I'm going to get people in. Um, yeah, female Kazakhstanic. Sorry,
Cool.
Patrick just commented. So yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So that's an awesome idea. I really love it. And I'm wondering if that's I mean, I'm seeing more people join and new keepers interacting on the TTPG
mhm,
Facebook group, which
yeah,
is called the TTPG discussion group, if
yep,
I remember correctly. But
yeah.
so you mentioned the CPC. I think that's
CP,
the what is it called? CPP.
yeah, Chelonian propagation program.
Yeah. So we haven't really talked about that on the
Yeah,
show, and a lot of us are TTPG members, but not all of us.
yeah.
And so
Actually,
how's
Patrick does.
how's that going? What How do you have you helped get that off the ground? And what is it?
So Cameron Lamb is the coordinator for the Chelonian propagation program. He does a fantastic job. I mean, just what he's able to do with keeping track of everything and then finding qualified people to keep them. Speaks a lot for his character and who he is. But
Yeah.
there was a point where I think Russ was looking at doing two programs, one specifically geared towards the ESA species and one for everything else. And I think it just worked out better doing everything in one group. And with that, because a lot of the ESA animals get a lot of attention, it brings more people in from the other, half of the program
Mhm.
for the normal stuff. Like uh, Chris Richards, who's in the comment, I sent
Yep.
him an entire group of Rhinoclemys mani that are a proven group. He has the ability to and the commitment to set them up correctly and work with them with a passion. I loved them, but they came to me individually as rescues. I never had planned on keeping them, and I do love them, and it was very difficult for me to give up. But I knew they'd be in a better spot with him. Um, so yeah, there's a lot of that. I think that although it would have been easy for me to be selfish and just keep them in maybe not optimal conditions just because they're producing and happy and I really like them.
Mhm.
Um, I think sometimes we as conscientious herpetoculturists
Yeah, there you go.
need to
It's a
not be
mouthful.
not be selfish and realize that these animals could do better in other places, and if that's the case, put them in a different put them in a better spot. I'm not saying that for everyone. By no means am I saying hey, if you have a bad day, just send them off. But give it a lot of thought. Make sure you're keeping what works for you where you're at and for what you can provide.
So
Even go ahead.
totally. What I was going to ask is, I never really thought about it in that way, and this is a brand new program. There's been lots of activity since it started, so it's a way for people to place animals. And when I originally was thinking about it, I thought, this would be kind of high end things, um, but that has not turned out to be the case at all. And then people can also receive animals. So how does it work if you want to participate, either provide an animal or let Cameron know that you're interested in an animal? How does that work?
So first and foremost, you need to be a TTPG member to participate. If you're a member, you can contact Cameron and you can get a form to fill out. On that form, you're going to list anything and everything you could possibly want to keep. Um, I mean, you can be as detailed, or if the only thing you want to keep is radiated tortoises, you can list that and only that. But if you're smart, you'll list everything you possibly imagine.
All 300 and
Right, right. Um, but so you
I don't
list.
know if you're smart if you do that.
My list
You might
wasn't
be
short.
accused of being a turtle hoarder. I don't know.
I've been accused of worse, but my list went
Theoretically, it's possible, though, is what you're saying. So
right,
what you're
right.
saying is you have to express an interest in a species.
Yes,
You don't just put your name like, "Hey, just consider me for
right.
anything." You
Let me
you
know
have to,
then.
and they don't advertise what's available, right?
Exactly,
You
exactly.
up front say, "I want to work with this turtle species,"
Yep,
and you may get a call or email from Cameron
yeah.
if one becomes available.
Well, and honestly, it doesn't even have to go that route, and that's what's so awesome about this program. There are literally no strings attached. We don't. I mean, I say we. TTPG as a whole, they didn't want to put a lot of strings on it because realistically, at the end of the day, it can cloud it can muddy the water. It can if you have it can just muddy the water.
Sure.
Whereas the way they have it set up, if just like Padre, I knew he needed certain turtle. I just made sure he signed his membership and shipped it to him. So I didn't, and
Cool.
then I actually told Cameron about it afterwards. Like, hey, Cameron, by the way, I shipped
Sure.
these turtles to him.
Yeah, yeah.
So it doesn't even have to be, hey, Cameron, this is what I'm interested in. If something comes up, let me know. If you have something and you want to give it to somebody, you can do that, and that's part of the program. You can pick this specific person you want, or I think as Cameron mentioned in the podcast, if he has several people that are interested in one species, sometimes he'll contact the person donating and saying, "Hey, here's who I have. Is there somebody out of that you would
Sure.
like them to go to?" So there are a lot of different ways you can do it, and I like it because it's not. Cameron said this the other night. He's not just sitting there, looking at a list saying, "Oh, who's my friend? Who's not my friend?" There are several turtles, man. I would have loved to gotten him. If like Cameron, come on,
Yeah.
man. But no, I'm really happy for him, for everyone getting these turtles. Kyle had gotten some diamondback terrapins here recently. Obviously, the Indian spotted turtles, and
Yeah, there was a bit. It was like Christmas morning
oh my
for
god,
Indian spotted turtles and Amazon river turtles.
yeah, Wayne knows how to do it. But I think I think it's fantastic that we have those awesome, more rare and stuff that we can't necessarily buy if we wanted them, stuff in the CPP. But I love the fact that there are just common stuff.
Yeah,
I'm looking
I
forward
didn't
to.
expect that. I didn't really
Really?
think about that.
That's what I was hoping it would be more. Yeah,
Interesting.
cool stuff is neat, but being able to get more Herman's tortoises out, and I mean, there are certain species that I think are such good and solid tortoises or turtles to keep, and that can do well just about anywhere. I really think we like a captive bred Russian tortoise, a Herman's tortoise, a Greek tortoise. They're pretty bulletproof.
Hmm.
They can thrive in just about anywhere in the U.S. So I would love to see more of that stuff out there and less sulcatas. I don't know if you caught Tyler's talk last night on the TTPG
I
member.
Yeah, I tuned in late, so
He
I missed most of it, and then it was echoing. It was hard
Yeah,
for me to
yeah.
concentrate, so
But
I missed most of it.
he had commented on one point that he had hatched more Russians this year than he did sulcatas, or last year.
Mm,
And I was like, that is awesome, right? I mean, especially
that's
in the rescue, there are plenty of sulcatas out there not being
yeah.
taken care of well. And it's a I'm not saying that it is harder to screw a Russian up, but yeah, they're harder to screw up. I'll say it. Sulcatas
They've got there's a lot
grow
of room
really
for
fast.
error when you have
Well,
such a
they grow
giant
so
tortoise.
fast. Yeah, I
Yeah,
the fact that they grow so fast plays a big factor in how screwed up they can get.
well, that's cool. Did you have any challenges? I know I had a few that I've shared on the Let's Talk Turtles podcast, and I'll be sharing it. We filmed an episode, not filmed, but recorded an episode. And any health challenges with any turtles, behavior, predators? It's always interesting to talk about and help the community grow when we share some of our challenges.
Yeah. Um, so this year, there's been a couple things that last year and this year I've noticed an increase in ear abscesses, and
Mm.
I'm not the only one. I know other rehabbers and rescues around the U.S. that have.
Even in
I've
in the
gone
wild for box turtles, right?
right.
People are talking about this. I've heard about
Yes,
this. Yeah.
yes. So there is something going around. Whether that's human caused, I I'm gonna lean towards no because of the fact that there are lots of wild cases. I've had two eastern box turtles come in with ear abscess. One was ran over by a lawnmower, happened to have an ear abscess.
Mm.
Um, so it is happening in the wild as well. So that I did see more of this year, just like last year.
Hmm.
But I have had a few upper respiratory infections with some aquatic,
Hmm.
um, which I don't see him in the chat, but there's somebody else that has just noticed that today. I think we helped diagnose just this afternoon. He had a turtle that's looking like it has upper respiratory infection. So I don't know if it's more common this year, but I've dealt with it more in some diamondback terrapins specifically. So
What freshwater turtles do you have? We've mostly talked about tortoises so far in your collection. I know you have a lot, and is there any highlights, any group, or is it
So
truly a collection of turtles that
I,
were
I
in need?
I am now up to 57 species, unintentionally, sort of. Um, but certain things have
We call
popped.
that in the business that I'm in. We call it opportunistic
Yeah.
acquisition.
Yes. Um, well, so I was able to get a fly river turtle not long ago,
Cool.
and that is just one of the coolest species in the world. Never thought I'd keep one. Never had a huge desire to keep one. I mean, it was always one of those that would be really awesome, but
Yeah.
they've always been really expensive, and um, this one was very affordable. I'd love to say that I could trade for it or somebody gifted me it, but nah, I gotta buy things. And Mark De Silva, who,
Yeah, yeah. I tried to get Mark on the show.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
um, he probably a little self conscious right now. He's he's newer to,
He's newer, but
well, but
he's
he's
in
been keeping
he's
for a long time.
enthusiastic.
Oh yeah,
He's good. He'd be good.
he's good at what
He
he.
sends me great thoughts and ideas.
Yeah, yeah, we bounce. Yeah, we talk daily. I like
That's
Mark.
awesome.
We're actually going to be staying together in Daytona next weekend.
Oh, so you are. I saw your comment that
Yeah,
sounded like, oh my gosh, Matthew's going down.
yeah. So I think maybe even Ralph Till may be staying with us.
Ralph Till.
Yeah. So I'm excited. I've never been to Daytona. It's been a long time in the making, and it's awesome. I mean, I wasn't really sure if I could get time off work, and that came through. And my dad's going to come up and visit. He lives in Miami, so he's going to drive up, and it's going to be an awesome trip. Jeff Kasperik's going to be there.
Yeah, I saw him. I saw he was going there.
Fatsman Wally.
Um, who?
Michael Fatsman Wally.
Oh, yeah. No. That Huvaswamy.
I will go just to hear his voice.
Um, let's check the chat.
Yeah.
Pesticides and fertilizer cause
Yeah.
ear abscesses, says Patrick Lee. Kyle looks like he's going to Daytona,
Oh yeah, Kyle.
and Wes wants to go pretty bad. I do too. I priced out a flight. I'm not gonna lie about that.
Tell you, Orlando. It was
Oh, it's
$270 cheaper to fly to Orlando.
oh, it's a bargain.
Rent a car for
Yeah.
4 days, drive to Daytona, which is an hour.
Yeah, it's 55 minutes from the Orlando airport. I priced the ticket on Breeze for $105.
Yeah,
Like the car rental would be the same price. So
you got a nicer car than I did. I
what's your plans with the Fly River?
So, Mark, like I was saying, Mark De Silva, he's been helping me out a ton with them. Hold on a sec. Hey, upstairs. You're giving an echo. Sorry, the triplets want to be YouTube famous again.
10 more minutes.
So,
10 more minutes.
Mark's
Yes.
been really good with. He's actually kept at Fly River for, let me say, 2 decades, maybe long, 25 years. So he's experienced with it.
Wow.
That helps out a lot. He's been a huge help just getting it set up, knowing just more confidence, making sure I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. It's all set up correctly. And he's helped me out picking, the species of fish and plants that I'm putting in the aquarium. I've got them right now. It's in a 75-gallon aquarium, which I'm really torn on because I don't usually put turtles in aquariums, but
You want to see it?
Yeah, you got it. It gets a lot of attention when people come over. My kids eat turtle.
Do they need basking spots?
No.
Interesting.
So a male Fly River will actually hatch so the females will lay during the dry season on the riverbank edges, and then once they'll get fully developed and they'll just sit and wait. until the rainy season comes and the nest floods. And as soon as they get dunked in water, they'll hatch. So males will literally never spend any time on dry land. Spend their entire life in water.
Except when they leave Ken and Harkin's pond and
Yeah,
go for a little adventure. Um,
so strange.
um, yeah, so there's been a lot imported, or not a lot, but there's been some imported this summer. I went and looked at the CITES records, and there are CITES 2 species. So
Yeah,
I don't know why they aren't more frequently imported, to be quite honest. Um, because they're from, I mean, aren't they from Indonesia? And Indonesia exports a crap ton of things, but I don't know.
so they for a long time they were only thought to be Papua New Guinea, I believe.
Oh, maybe that's it. Yeah.
So then that's where Fly River, the name Fly River came from. The ones there's a population in northern Australia that they didn't know about for a long time. And that's where the Fly River or pig nose came from. Yeah, I think I'm correct.
Yeah, Papua New Guinea on the other, like half of it is. Oh, okay. Yeah, no, that's I'm getting my countries mixed up. Papua, I think, is Indonesia, but Papua New Guinea is a separate country on the eastern half of the island that Papua and Papua New Guinea share. So,
You're,
anyways,
I
that's the geography. If you watch DME Exotics channel, Dan, I forget his last name, but he is an importer of stuff from Papua, and he's had Mark O'Shea on explaining like the biogeography of that area,
yeah.
and how the snakes from Australia and Papua New Guinea like are there's like this ancient part of like the southern part of that island that has an affinity with Australia, but just a little bit north of there it doesn't. So
I think it's called the Baker line. I can't remember the guy's name, but I know
something like that. Yeah,
it's a
super
demarcation
cool.
line where the species diverge. Like they're completely different.
That's
One
super cool.
Asia, one is more towards Australia. So yeah, I know what you're talking about. I cannot remember the name. Who in the comments knows the name of that line?
That's a good one. Yeah, someone can Google it and get a prize. You get a prize of knowing it. So
right, they were connected 2,000 years ago.
So I mean, I will tell you, I have a 110-gallon aquarium sitting in my garage, and recently I saw some Fly River turtles being offered locally for a pretty decent price. And I was pretty tempted. And I was like showing Megan pictures of Fly River turtle. Like, yeah, so cute, isn't it? But what went through my head is like a 2,000, not 2,000, maybe 300-gallon aquarium, 500-gallon aquarium. Is that like what is the ethical adult enclosure for a Fly River turtle in the Midwest?
Yeah, and this was my hiccup as well before I decided to get it, and that's why I reached out with Marketon beforehand. They are very slow growing turtles, as Mark told me, with the size of mine, which is about 4 or 5 inches right now, I can have it in that 75 for probably a decade, and before I really need to start worrying about things.
Really?
That's what he'd said. We'll see if he's right. Somebody fact check him in the comments. Actually, I owe him.
They eat fruit, right?
They do. It's
yeah.
so cool. So we feed it blueberries, and they sink, and algae wafers, lettuce. It leaves all of the fish alone, and they swim in little schools around, and it's just majestic watching it swim around. I can't describe it any other way. But I've had people come over for, many people surrendering stuff, but they'll always stop and they'll look at that, and they'll watch it swimming around, and they'll just be really surprised, that this thing can be here. Some people think it's a sea turtle, and I'll have to explain it to them, but it is neat. It's the only freshwater turtle with fins.
It's super cool, and I never used to think I wanted one until I saw one locally. Like, oh man,
Knowing
that'd be
knowing
so tempting.
do you have any fungal issues at first? I don't know if they're talking to me. But
Yeah,
no,
yes, I think so.
I mine has not had any fungal issues. I do know that they are kind of sensitive. They need hot water, so I've got an FX4 filtering that 75-gallon tank, and it's crystal clear. I mean, I've
Yeah.
that blue holes. You don't really notice how well they work until you use an aquarium. I mean, I've been using stock tanks with them, and yeah, it looks,
Ah,
but when you can look directly through it and just see everything so nice and clear, and those things are really good filters. I'm really jealous of Steve Enders. Have you seen his
oh,
set?
yeah. That was ridiculous.
That is like a dream come true. Like,
He had like three
yeah,
giant
he's
canister
double full.
filters on like a 300-gallon
Yeah, he's got an
stock tank.
FX4 and an FX6
Yeah.
on a stock tank. Like that's, I mean, some people call it overblown, but that's nice. That's real nice.
Chris is he wants to know about your bottom. Is it bare or doesn't have substrate?
If well, I've got pants on right now.
Yeah.
Hanes,
Oh,
maybe
it's
Fruit of the Loom.
it's Thursday night.
Uh,
Week is almost over.
no, I've got about 2 or 3 inches of sand at the bottom. Um, that's what was recommended, and that's what I'm using. It seems to love it. It is weird, and I've asked Mark about this. It's obsessed with one side of the tank, and it'll scoot the dirt out from the bottom, or scoot the sand out from the bottom, and then just swim around in the circle. It's kind of bizarre. I don't
Huh.
know. Maybe hit its head. I've got
It's a long journey from
but
Indonesia
yeah,
or
uh,
Papua New Guinea.
I love it. It's the fact that I can keep it for a long time, and legitimately, there may become a day where I can't house it properly, and I want to get it into a better position. Um, but until that day comes, it's going to be a healthy, happy turtle here.
Cool.
So
That's super exciting.
it's an educational turtle. What about you? What about your three toes? How are they doing?
They're doing good. I had a one got sick.
Blonde,
You mango.
mango.
Um, and she's doing a lot better. Is the short
Good.
answer. You
Gonna have to stay inside.
take a everybody listen to the next Let's Talk Turtles podcast because I go on a little rant about my vet care experience. But overall, I have a really good, knowledgeable vet practice, but it's kind of like modern medicine. There, you never know what doctor you're gonna get, and so it's really hard to establish relationships. But
Right.
ultimately, they know what they're doing and they prescribe the right meds. But that's gone very well. I went to Virginia earlier this summer and met up with Sarah and was able to acquire a new female Western hingeback. Eggs have started hatching. I've hatched 6 eggs. Think it's going to be kind of a down year. I'm expecting 10 to 12 animals. And, I've had as many as 27. So, yeah, the box turtles have done really well. Chicken wire does not keep out raccoons. Um, I did have a break in. I've not publicized that. Um, Fortunately, they only got the food
Oh man.
there in the enclosure. They're like, yeah, we're just going to eat the crock chow.
Let,
Um,
let me ask you.
yeah.
Do you honestly? So I have never once had a single turtle or tortoise predated upon. Um, I think part of that is my big dogs, the electric fence, all the other things. But
Yeah. Yeah.
part of it is there's plenty of options around that they can go and eat
Sure.
that they don't necessarily have to go. Do you think that
Or box.
plays a factor when keeping
I'm
turtles?
I'm sure your dog helps, but raccoons are everywhere and they're curious. And if they're hungry and they want a turtle, they're gonna get it.
Do you think they're more keen on going for the turtle where they're going to have to work for it over some food laying down that they can just eat?
If it's 10 feet from the tree they live in, that's easy.
Or your turtle enclosure shouldn't be 10 feet from a raccoon house.
How do you know? I mean, how do you know? Sometimes it's hard, but if you have a small yard, raccoons are everywhere. They are everywhere. They are ubiquitous, and so take it from me, chicken wire stapled to wood. The raccoons just like, yeah, we're just gonna push
It's
that.
funny because that's what everyone uses for their chickens in urban areas
Yeah,
where there's tons of raccoons.
I basically what I've heard, and I heard this before. Chicken wire is really good at keeping chickens in, but not good at keeping raccoons out. So, it sucked, and I needed to do something. Um, so I just stopped. I pulled the food at night, and I went and bought the vinyl coated that green fencing, like the
Yeah.
2x4 or 1x3 wire. And what I did, I actually, yeah, hardware cloth and staples. Um, what I did, I cut that and then I applied it to the roof frames,
Okay.
and I actually zip tied it to
Okay.
my frames. So I just zip tied this new layer of protection over my frames, and then I still just have these frames that sit on top of the enclosure, and I just put concrete blocks when I go on vacation
Yeah.
on that, and they're fine. So, um, overall, a pretty good summer. I can't believe it's over. And so, what do we have to start thinking about?
We got to start getting winter prep. For those of us that keep their stuff outside year round, this is when we're going to start collecting grass clippings from your yard, leaves as they start falling. Um, if you're like me, you're collecting your rabbit substrate from your daughter's rabbit pen because it aids in the composting effect that I'm wanting for uh, my cold frames. Um, so yeah, I mean, this is the time of year where you're going to have to start getting busy. If you're, someone like Kevin Minto, or he got me into it. If you're dehydrating stuff that you grow or that grows near you, you better start pulling. You better start running that dehydrator now because there's only going to be so many more days of green leaves. Um, so yeah, that's what I've been doing a lot lately. Trying to get as much stuff prepped as I can. Um, Yes, it I don't know if you've ever heard of the term Indiana clay, Jennifer, but that is where we live. Um, so yeah, we've got a lot of clay. Um, but anyway, yeah, getting winter stuff ready, prepped, checking animals, making sure they're getting good weights, gaining weight, making sure they're all healthy. You don't want to find out in October that you've got a sick turtle. Um, you really want to start putting weight on them now. Tess Cook, I have her group of box turtles, and that's something that you know, I love Tess. She's awesome. But
Tess is like the like god of box turtles
yeah, yeah,
from
her
way
and
back.
yeah, her and Franklin are pretty much the ones who started, um, at least the from my experience. But she texted me today, and she didn't say it, but I think she wanted to like, are you over them this time of year? Are you
You
getting
getting
them ready
ready?
for winter? I knew that's what she wanted to say, but she didn't. She's awesome, and yeah, they are. So I will this time of year. I'll start using some dog food or some cat food for them, which I know is somewhat frowned upon in certain areas. But Tess has done it for decades with hers and hasn't ever lost a single one. So um, you know, I'm I'm not the smartest person. I know I'm not even the smartest person on this live stream. So
That's Ralph.
well, Ralph for sure.
If he's still here.
I'll
Hi,
use,
Ralph.
hi, Ralph. I'll use the advice from those who have done it a lot more successfully than me. So yeah, she even when she brought the box turtles up here, she brought some canned food and to know, so I knew exactly what brand they liked, and yeah, it works.
That's awesome.
Can't deny it.
So you're pumping, or that's a horrible word. You're giving them higher protein.
Yeah.
At the end of the year.
Yep.
Interesting. Well, that was great. Let's bring on the triplets.
I sent them back up. I don't know if they're
still watching.
Yeah.
This is when the show gets really interesting. We can just leave them. Just put your tablet on, and we'll
let them come sit here.
Yeah. Well, Matthew, it was really good to catch up.
You too.
And
I wish you were going to Dayton or Daytona.
Yeah,
Are you going to do TTPG?
I'm busy. We'll see. My wife has a conference in Vancouver.
I just heard that a mutual friend of ours may be speaking. May have gotten one of the last 5 spots.
Yeah, good.
And you're going to want to hear him speak.
I agree. I would love to go to TTPG. And, are they coming?
Yeah.
Next week we are going to have Saul Bauer. Oh, Superman is here. A rabbit. I was not expecting that.
With our bunny, I'll tell you what. We got this at a pet expo. It was a feeder.
Oh.
I think it knows that it would have been snake poop because it lets Molly do anything with it. You get around the house, it's like, okay.
Is it a house bunny?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Totally. Yeah. That's awesome.
I mean, not loose. It's in a cage, but
she can nibble
it lives inside.
She'll bite you.
Jen, we have a few kids. I brought Weston, my 13-year-old, last year, and there was a couple high school kids, and it's definitely something that is accessible to kids. And so bring those 3.
Yeah, as soon as they're a little older. But I'll be surprised. Grady, what's the fastest tortoise species?
Pancake.
He actually taught me that. I didn't know it. What? Scoot over, dude.
Bro, I can't Molly.
So yeah, as soon as they're a little older, I'm gonna absolutely bring them. Like that's.
Did anybody comment no later? Somebody should have caught up.
I don't know where they get this because it's not from me.
Hey, Dad.
Yeah.
How many kids?
But yeah.
How
many
kids go to
TTPG?
What's that?
The conference I go to in Arizona.
Guys, does your dad like turtles?
Yeah. Yeah, he loves turtles.
He loves them?
Oh, but no, you're kidding.
We're all kids.
We are all kids.
Yeah. You're scared.
So, yeah, I highly recommend anybody. I mean, obviously, I can't say this because I haven't done it yet, but I want to bring my kids to TTPG. I want there to be more family-centered things, more. I mean, let's be honest. The more people we get involved, whether it's kids or adults, the more.
He said we're all kids.
The more conscientious for pet culture will grow.
Yeah, totally. Jen asks, is the field trip more of a kid-friendly part? So last year, we went to the Phoenix Zoo, and we were there all freaking day. Like, from 10 o'clock in the morning until, like, 10 o'clock at night. It was the longest trip to the zoo I'd ever been in. And my 13-year-old was a champ because he wanted to go home after about 2 hours. So,
I've got pictures of him. He looked like he was enjoying himself quite a bit.
He liked it, but I mean it was long for me. And then I didn't know it was. when I got to the bus, Russ said, "Hey, bring a jacket." I'm like, "Oh crap!" I was staying at an offsite hotel, so I
Oh,
was freezing.
What is the comment?
it did get cold.
I had to borrow Weston's sweatshirt, and he was walking around in a t-shirt, and I had his sweatshirt on. I was just so freaking cold. There was no hot place to go, and it was like 50 degrees, 55 degrees. So, this year, Jen, the tour or the field trip is to some nurseries. It's not a kid friendly field trip this year, unfortunately. My Weston would be bored out of his mind at these nurseries. They're small. They have tight aisles, thousands of plants everywhere, and it's not very. So the field trip, just not very kid friendly. So
2 years ago, we went to the International Zoo. I can't remember what the name of it is. World Wildlife Zoo.
Yeah.
And then we went to Arizona Tortoise Compound. That would have been cool. Kids would have loved that.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
I mean, not every year I think can be exactly kid centric. But
Yeah, and I think that's a challenge, right? Is to figure out what an appropriate field trip is, and you can only do the same thing so many times.
I'm still rooting for James Badman and Cameron Lamb to open up their places because they live pretty close to each other.
Yeah,
both of them have awesome animals, not just turtles and tortoises too. I would love to.
It's cold in here.
We had the barbecue at James Badman's house in 2019,
and
some of the animals were not fond.
Right, but from what he said, it was because it was at night. A lot of people had a hard time with it at night. If we did, earlier, I think it would work. Yeah, my wife may be watching because she just sent Molly down saying, "Stop acting goofy."
He's just saying that. He's not doing anything. I am very goofy. Dude, that was my fault.
We know.
You almost killed the street.
All right, well.
That's awesome. Well, Matthew, thank you. Thanks, kids. Next week, Saul Bauer. Saul is a professional zookeeper, and he's going to talk about his aquatic setups that he works with map turtles, yellow blotch map turtles. So we're really going to take a dive into the aquatic side and see what he's up to. So thanks so much, Matthew.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone in the chat. And we'll see you later. Matthew, we can chat a little bit after we're done. So
no.
thanks, everyone.
No. All right.